Oftentimes, going no contact from narcissistic people simply isn't enough for you to really heal and move on with your life. I mean, you can block people, you can stop engaging with people, you can avoid people, you can stop showing up to parties, this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, you can still go outside and just feel the heavy, icky presence of narcissistic people. It's like wherever you go, there they are. And this can really stunt your growth. You might feel like you're not going anywhere. You might want to isolate yourself, afraid to go outside. You might think that everybody you know, the narcissistic people know. All right, but what if the problem is even deeper than that? This is where you might need to consider a radical change in your life. I'm under the impression right now in my healing journey that narcissistic abuse of any kind is oftentimes the product of your environment. If you've been in an environment where you just don't feel like you found your purpose, your calling, you feel this emptiness, this void, well, chances are you're vulnerable for a toxic relationship. And if you stay in the environment where you've been experiencing narcissistic abuse, one of two things. That car was loud. One of two things is gonna happen. Either A, you're gonna stay involved with the toxic narcissistic people because it's familiar, or B, you're just gonna have the door open for another toxic narcissistic person in hopes that somebody is going to come into your life and fill in that void, that emptiness, because you're not thriving and you're not just feeling where you're at. This sudden and immediate change that I'm talking about is called a hard reset, and I believe that this has worked for me, and so it's going to work for you. Let's talk about a hard reset in your life. Now, a hard reset is a sudden change of environment. It's moving from one city to another city, from one state to another state, from one country to another country. I mean, let's face it, oftentimes you can't get far enough away from toxic people in your life. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, the only people that need to know are the people who need to know, the people who are supportive. This might mean that you don't talk about this with your family, especially if they're toxic. And now some of you might have a problem with this and say, Kevin, you can just up and leave? How can you do that? You can't just up and leave without telling you. Why not? I did it. Moved 5 states away from California to the Midwest, only telling the people who were supportive. This is something that's even biblical. Consider the story of Abraham. God spoke to Abraham and said, Abraham, I need you to leave your mom, your dad, your family behind, the city, your kindred, and go to the place that I'm going to show you. Now, we don't read that Abraham said, hey, Lord, that sounds fun and exciting and all, but let me first run it by my family. For all we know, they would have become stumbling blocks. Oftentimes, if people do not understand the vision, the purpose, and the path that God has for you, then they're only going to work against you. And for all we know, Abraham's parents may have tried to convince him to stay, convince him that he wasn't hearing the voice of God, convinced him that he was crazy and he needed to stay there where he belonged, where they thought he belonged in that family. We also see this, by the way, in the story of Jesus. Jesus confronted his mom and dad because he was out teaching, and they're like, Jesus, where are you? And Jesus said, hey, don't you know I'm about my Father's business? And then later, when Jesus was teaching in a church, and Jesus' mom was outside the church saying, Jesus, come out. We need to see you. Jesus said, who is my mother? Who are my brothers? The people in this room are my mother, my brothers. Jesus is pushing back against this concept that you need other people's permission to do what it is that you feel led to do. Now, the next issue that some of you might have is, well, Kevin, it sounds a lot like running away from your problems in life. No. Listen, don't buy into the narcissistic slogan that their problems are your problems. They're not. Narcissistic family members, narcissistic people are excellent at trying to make you carry the burden and the weight of their issues in life. And for the longest time, you probably have. The reality is many of you haven't even begun to face your own problems in life, and that's because your own problems exist out there, away from the toxicity of your family. Your problems are in breaking the chains of dependency. Your problems are in finding self-sufficiency. Your problems are in finding joy and peace in your path and your purpose and finding true love. Those are your problems. Your problems are waiting for you so that you can conquer them, so you can face them, and so you can thrive and live the life that God has called you to live. Now, there's so much more that I want to share with you about making this hard reset. I'm excited for you. Let's get into this. My name is Kevin, and this is Now, before I begin, let me remind you that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box right below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I do take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. So if you're considering a hard reset, don't do it alone. Head on down there, schedule that one-on-one time with me. Let's talk about it. Now then, let's get into this message. I want to share with you the things that you can expect, the questions that you might have about making this hard reset in your life, beginning with one of the number one questions, and that is, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? What if I have no plans? What if I don't know exactly where I'm going? Well, let me help you out with this. Obviously, it would be in your best interest to at least know somebody or have connections anywhere where you're trying to go, whether it's distant cousins or if it's friends that you haven't spoken to in a long time. When I made the decision to move from California to the Midwest, I was in touch with distant cousins. These cousins knew nothing about the toxic relationship dynamic, the in-laws, none of that stuff. And that's really where you want it. You don't want to rely on people who know your situation, who know your toxic, dysfunctional family or whatever. You don't want to risk them being in contact with each other. You really do want a fresh start. So having friends who don't know the situation, having distant cousins, that can help you land, get started, find a job wherever you go, and can really make your sudden and immediate hard reset in life a little bit easier. But it's not necessary. You obviously can go without anybody and just hit the ground running all on your own. It just depends on what level of strength you want to approach this thing at. You know what I'm saying? To the question of, well, what if it doesn't work and then I have nowhere to go? To that, I would say this: you're thinking too far down the road. All right, you don't want to look that far down the road. Now, I know we're conditioned to have a plan and then have a backup plan, have plan A and then have plan B and then have plan C. And listen, that's a bunch of nonsense. When it comes to making a hard reset in your life, oftentimes there is no plan beyond just moving and getting out. That's your plan. That should be your focus. Your focus needs to be, I need to get from here to there. Don't plan beyond that. Make that your plan. This is kind of one of those one foot in front of the other situations where you just break free of the toxicity. That should be your number one plan. That should be your goal. Break free of the toxicity, get somewhere else, and then get started. Get ready. Get prepared to hit the ground running. Find a job. Find a place to live. If you focus too much on if it doesn't work, where will I go if this fails? Well, you're already almost setting yourself up for failure. You're already almost at this place of negativity where you're thinking too far down the line of if it doesn't work. And you don't want to think that far, okay? Yes, okay, fine, fair enough. It's good to have plans. But when it comes to a hard reset, just make the hard reset the end of your plan for now. Let the place where you land be the end of your plan. Don't think beyond that. Save that mental capacity for your next step once you arrive. You can worry about plans and backup plans later down the road. Now then, the next question that I oftentimes get is, Kevin, will a hard reset work? Will it heal me? Will I suddenly be better? Now, this one is important for you to understand. The answer is no. The answer is no. Don't look at a hard reset as the pinnacle of your healing journey. Don't look at it as that's it. Once you move, you're healed. It doesn't work like that. Oftentimes, a hard reset is the beginning of your healing journey. For many of you, you haven't even begun to heal yet. Going no contact is not healing. As long as you're in the toxic environment, you're really not in a place of experiencing true healing. You're really no more than a soldier that's on the battlefield in the middle of a ceasefire. And that's what going no contact when you stay in the toxic environment really is. It's just a ceasefire. Now, I want you to consider the analogy of a soldier on a battlefield. During a ceasefire, he hasn't even really begun to address his wounds yet. He doesn't even know where he's been hit. Chances are he's been shot in the leg, shot in the arm. He doesn't even know yet because he's in the fight or flight of being on the battlefield. This is how it is when you're still in a toxic environment and you haven't even yet gotten to a safe enough place to address your wounds. Once you make this hard reset in life, count on taking some time to address your wounds. This is where your true healing begins. This is where you're out of the fight or flight, and now you're in this place of being able to finally address the wounds in your life, where you've been hit, what caused the abuse to take place in your life. All right? This is where ruminations might occur. I've experienced that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's an initial excitement when you first get to this new place in life, but that excitement's gonna wear out, all right? And what you're left with is facing the reality of the pain that you've experienced. This is where your true healing begins in life. So count on spending time after you get to a new location to really dive into perhaps therapy, right? Perhaps coaching with the royal we. Start to really dive deep into your conditioned beliefs, the things that led into toxicity in your life. Learn how to unlearn the things that you have learned in life. And if you need help with that, watch my video. I'll post it right here on unlearning. I don't want any spiders to get on me in here, right? I'm gonna move a little bit. So point number 2 is don't expect the move to suddenly miraculously change you and to be the pinnacle of your healing. Oftentimes it's just the beginning of your healing, where you're finally able to address your wounds in life. Now, point number 3 that I want to share with you is it becomes super important for you to get active. Super important for you to get active. A part of narcissistic abuse is a hijacking of your biochemistry. You become addicted. The narcissistic people have provided ups and downs for you in life, and you become addicted to that. So if you just move and all you do is get a job and go home and sit down on the couch and watch TV and go back and forth to work, you're not going to give your body the biochemistry it needs. We are biochemical beings. I know for me personally, I have a high drive for biochemistry. I love doing exciting things. I love having sex, love playing sports, love all that stuff. And I found that when I was in a period of my life where that wasn't taking place, my focus was on the toxic narcissistic family. Why? Well, because it was enough to pump adrenaline through my veins, something that I wasn't managing on my own. You know, I no longer play football. I no longer play baseball. I no longer do the things I did when I was young. So it became important for me once I moved to St. Louis that I got active. I rappelled down a 19-story building, shared about it on a video. I'll see if I can find it and put a link for that here for you. Eventually got a motorcycle. The motorcycle is the best form of therapy I could ever have. If I feel like I am in need of some adrenaline, or if I'm ruminating, I hop on my bike, I go for a ride, right? Suddenly it consumes me under my control, under my management. I could turn it on and turn it off, and in doing so, I am training myself to manage my own biochemistry, and I'm no longer relying on the ruminations to pump adrenaline. So believe it or not, when you are ruminating, when you're thinking of the toxic people, it's actually pumping adrenaline through your veins. It's feeding your addiction, all right? This is why it becomes important for you to get active. Super important for you to get active. Meet new relationships, challenge yourself, get out on a boat, do some canoeing, have an adventure, get a motorcycle, scare yourself, shock your system. Get into things in life that are going to challenge you biochemically so that there's no more room up here to dwell on the narcissistic people. This is what it's going to look like for you to make a hard reset in your life, and I promise you, with this comes healing. So let's recap real quick. The first issue, all right, is what if it doesn't work? Don't think that far ahead. Number 2, what was the second question? Is it the end all to your healing journey? No, absolutely not. Count on when you arrive, really diving into your healing. And number 3, make sure that you're getting active and regaining control over your own biochemistry. If you tackle these 3 things, you will not only heal from narcissistic abuse and forget the toxicity that you left behind, but you will step into your plan, your purpose, the things that God has for you. You're gonna find these things on the way while you are doing this hard reset. So if you noticed, everything I said about this hard reset is all focused on you, on your healing. These are the things that you need. And these are the things I'm here to help you to do. As I said before, I'm here to support you. Down in the description box, right below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. Schedule this appointment time with me. I'd love the opportunity to speak with you, and I'll be back with more videos for you right here on The Royal We.